Welcome, everybody, to episode 120, 2002. Welcome to episode 202 of the Michael Lab Show. We're here on a beautiful Tuesday. Happy Father's Day. Happy June 19th. That is I want to look up exactly what it is because I don't want to go here and get it all wrong. June 19th is 170th day of the year, and yep. What is so special about it? It's originating in Galveston, Texas, emancipation of enslaved peoples in areas in rebellion against the Union. So happy June 19th. I know I'm a few days late, like 4 or 5 days late, and this is a holiday that's overdue. You know, America is such a fascinating country. I'm a very proud American. I love this country. I love what we stand for. I love the ability to climb the ladder here in this country. And I love the freedoms that we have. And there's not a day that goes by where I undermine that. There's not a day that goes by where I forget about that. Every single day I know that being born in this country is better than being born in any other country. And I know there's people that listen to my podcast in Australia, the UK, Ireland, all across the world, Nigeria. I know there's people that listen to this podcast across the whole world, but in my opinion, this is by far the greatest country that is currently around today. And I would say one of the best societies that we've ever had in this world. But I'm not sure. And I know I probably sound like such a biased, white, straight man just speaking on behalf of the whole country. But I genuinely believe that. I think the freedoms that we have in this country are immense. The people that have gone to war to fight for those freedoms, and there's issues, right? There's plenty of issues with our country. There's things that shouldn't have never happened but happened. There's things that we could have done but we did not do. There's wars that we've been into which we should have never been into, or at least we shouldn't have been in that long. We overextended our stay. Afghanistan, Iraq, Cambodia, Vietnam, most wars. And those things are not good. And then there's slavery. And then slavery is one of those things that people do not speak enough about. And maybe we speak enough about slavery. No, I don't think you can ever actually speak enough about it, because when things like that, when there's such a black eye on a country, that needs to be talked about all the time, and not like on a light surface, but like on a serious surface. Like, this is what happened. Like, this is what caused like this ancestral trauma for African Americans in this country, and this is the reality. And we need to stop acting like these things did not happen. And June 19th is a small victory, right? Emancipation of enslaved people in areas in rebellion against the Union. June 19th, African American history, culture, and progress is an observance. Let me just knock down my fire, blow up my whole house. But I do think it's a very valuable holiday, and it's so beautiful to see the celebrations on it, and it's so beautiful to see the people celebrating it, and it's one of those things that I think we need to never stop talking about. I'm not fully knowledgeable on the setup of this country and the way it reflects in the way it affects minorities. I'm not fully aware of it, but what I am and what I do is I try my best to educate myself as much as I possibly can on the way that this society, this country has been built, and the way it's been built, how that affects minorities. And, these wins of June 19th, I think they're very important. And, slavery itself, the act of treating people as property is not a new thing. You can go to any country that has been built, any society that has been built, any great society that has been built. If you're listening to this, that was like quotations, because what's great to one person is not great to the other, and understanding that, I think, is super valuable. Like for me, as much as I love this country, There's a whole world that hates this country. There's a whole side of the planet that wishes this country would just burn and go to hell. And I think understanding that is super valuable, not just going like, well, those people got it wrong. It's like, no, those people got it right. Like the Middle East, they have it right in their eyes. In their eyes, our country is a representation of everything that's anti their country. We are anti everything that's pro their state. In the same way that we look at them, the same way that we look at the Middle East and see these laws and the society, the culture there that represses people. We look at that as evil. They look at that as that's the way it happens. That's the way it works. I watched this show. It's kind of off tangent here. I watched this show with my girlfriend. It's called 90 Day Fiance. And there's this couple, and it's a hilarious show. It's kind of a sad show at times because you're just like, oh, these idiots. Oh, these girls are smart. These guys are idiots. Like, what are you going to do? It's like human trafficking, but legal human trafficking. I guess it's not because it's voluntary. They're both volunteering to do it. But anyways, I digress. There's this Michael and Angela. And Angela is a white, older woman. I would say 55, even though she looks 112. And there's Michael, who is a Nigerian. Born in Nigeria, raised in Nigeria, never left Nigeria. And you can just see these very stark differences in cultures. One is her freedom, her I need no man. I'm a powerful woman. I do what I want, when I want, how I want, and I don't care, and I don't ask for permission. And frankly, if my family disagrees, I get rid of them. And then you see this gentleman, Michael, who comes from this world in Nigeria where it's, I am the leader of my family. I will be the father. I will make the decisions. Women are subservient to me. And these women agree. They are totally in agreement. They say, yes, the husband, the man runs this house, and we follow and do what he tells us to do. And that's just the way it works. So you have these totally different cultures. You have these cultures that one's right and one's wrong. But who am I, or who are you to say that one culture is different from the other? And I think that's missing so much in this society that we've created. And I love America, but at the same time, I think it's super, super, super valuable to recognize that your opinion on greatness is 100% biased. What you think is right is because that's the world that you grew up in. And it sounds so simple to like put that through your head. But I overheard these people. I was working out and they were just talking so like just so I know what's right. And the whole time I'm thinking is I could get somebody in here who thinks completely opposite of you, and they think they're 100% right, and you think you're 100% right. What are we doing here? It's like this lack of understanding each other, or even the lack of wanting to understand each other. There's a lot of people who say one thing now, but then they don't believe it at all. They don't believe it at all. I don't know. I think it's fascinating to see. But I think when we have events like June 19th and they become an official federal holiday, recognizing our faults is the first step to recovery. The lack of recognizing our faults, we're just going to keep on putting water under the bridge. And what's going to happen is water's going to rise. It's going to destroy the whole bridge. And you don't want that. You can't, putting things out of your sight does not mean they're gone. That just means you're not looking. And they will kill you. It's like the monster in the dark. You can't see it anymore because there's lack of light. There's lack of looking at it. But it's still there, and it still will kill you. The way you defeat those things is you really have to dissect them. You really got to break them apart, look at them, and try to understand them. So at least develop a technique to work around them. And when you go to public school and they talk about slavery and like they show like cartoons of it and they act like it's not a huge thing and they act like, oh, once after, Civil War ended, freedom was gone, but they don't really mention like that's not true. And like they don't talk about the progress of racism in a positive manner, like the way it's kind of gone away, not the way that's gone away, but the significant hit it's had. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about how it also it's still here today. I think there's a lot of flaws in the public school system and the way they teach about history. It's not history. It's history from who wrote that book. The person who wrote that book is a white person, and the odds of them writing it through the eyes of a black person is pretty it's pretty unlikely. And it sounds so dumb, but it's so true. Like, I think it's everything that we read, everything that we take in is not from an objective standpoint. It's from a biased standpoint. Give credit where credit is due. The attempt to make it an objective viewpoint is there. But when you're not an African American and you're not somebody who has grown up in this society where there's biases everywhere you look and there's microaggressions everywhere you look, it's impossible to get across a true objective message. So yeah. So that's my spiel on that. I didn't do a podcast. I obviously didn't do a podcast on Saturday, but I did just want to kind of talk about that. I saw a lot of celebrations. It was beautiful to see. That woman who, what's her name? The woman of June 19th. She was an older woman. I think she was 1994. Woman. Here's one woman behind. What is her name? There she is. Looking like a G with her gray hair. Opal Lee. This woman is beautiful. Opal Lee is an African-American retired teacher, counselor, and activist in the movement to make June 19th a federally recognized holiday. She's often described as the grandmother of Juneteenth. On June 17th, 2021, President Biden signed Senate Bill S-475, making Juneteenth the 11th federal holiday. You just see that and you feel, I don't know, 94 years old. She was born in 94, 21 minus 94 would have been 73, right? 73 minus 100 equals 27. 1927 she was born. And, 1927 all the way up to now, there's hints of racism, but 1927 to 1980, there's just, I mean, when were the LA riots? LA riots were 88 or no, 77, 92. The LA riots were 92. So, I mean, it's there, but just to see somebody who experienced so much hatred and so much ignorance and so much conflict within her community and the community around her, to see her just be so proud and to see her actually accomplish what she set out to do it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So happy June 19th to everybody out there. And let's all collectively as a group, here's one thing I do want to speak on real quick. White people out there, we need to do a better job listening. We need to do a better, and I'm not virtue signaling. I'm not trying to take this stance to go like, oh, look at me. I mean this as wholeheartedly as possible. We need to do a better job listening. We don't listen. We act like we know what we're talking about, and we think that we have the answer to everything, but we just don't. And the best thing you can do is listening. Why do people go to therapy? People go to therapy just to talk. Because here's one thing about people that we do not recognize. People in of themselves can figure out answers very, very well. You have all the answers within you. When I went to therapy, the reason why therapy worked so well for me is because I talked, and as I talked, I figured out answers on my own. There was some input here and there, some input there, but the answers are literally within you. And it sounds so dumb, but they are literally within you. And just your brain is so chaotic that if you just keep them in there, you're never going to accumulate answers. You're never going to formulate the answers that you want. The best way to get answers is to speak about them and talk about them. And having somebody who truly listens, who when words are spoken to them, they can put them in a organizing way, and they can be like, oh, okay, I understand why you feel that way. Oh, I didn't know that hurt you. And I think that's very important. There needs to be a lot more listening in this country. There needs to be a lot more understanding. There needs to be a lot less talking. We need more listening and more action, but the action cannot come from a bias. We got to do listening so that action we take is coming from the right place. Because I think people objectively are all trying to help, but sometimes when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, the cake gets overcooked. And I think that's very important. I think it's very important that we take that stance to really understand each other and really talk to each other. So that's pretty much all I had to talk about that. I just wanted to talk about June 19th. I didn't really speak about it too much, and I think it's something that I definitely don't want to glance over. But also, happy Father's Day to everyone out there. I am not a father. I was a father to a dog. The dog passed away, and that was very hard. But I am a man who has no child, so I'm not a father. But I know there's a lot of fathers out there, including my father, his father, so my grandfather. Being a father, it is one of those things where I listened to a podcast with Bert Kreischer and Casey Neistat, and Casey Neistat was talking about his 23-year-old son, and it is one of those things that you just don't. I feel like me as a person, I try my hardest to be very introspective, and I try my hardest to put myself in situations and try to think about how I would feel in that situation. I've been doing this for a long time, and I remember being, pretty young and just looking at fathers and going like, what do they think? Like how, and I look at them with like their babies. I'm like, what do you do? Like, how do you raise a kid? And, Casey Neistat brought up a really good point, and he said, babies are easy. And I thought this was really funny. Babies and toddlers, they're simple. Why are they simple? Because the objective is for them not to die. Like, the objective is for them to speak, talk, and not to die. But then there's that point where being a father comes. It is, I'm going to keep them alive. I'm going to protect them. I'm like their personal little bodyguard wherever they go. To they're 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now they're developing their own opinions, and they don't need me to keep them alive anymore. What is my job now? And I'm thinking about my father. Like, do I just kind of lay back and just wait for them to maybe ask me questions? Or what if they don't ask me questions? What if I see them going on a path where I know I can help them? Do I interject? Who am I to interject for them? Why would I interject? I may not be the most happy with the path that I took. So why would I think my interjections could help them? It's like they're their own little organism at that point. It goes from formulated organism, protecting organism, to that organism kind of to that organism not needing the mother or the father anymore. And I just want to say, like, a huge thank you to fathers out there. I know like people don't really speak about men, just men in general, and I'm a huge man advocate, and that sounds dumb, but I am somebody who I've struggled in the past trying to be okay with being an emotional dude. Like, I'm a very emotional guy. I cry openly. I cry often. If I need to cry, I won't not cry. Things really affect me, and I'm very sensitive when it comes to people suffering, and I'm very sensitive to things that make other people happy. And I think being a father is one of the hardest things in the world. Everything from childbirth to having a brand new baby, but the brand new baby is not nearly as close to you as a baby is with the mother. And that's not your fault. That's just biology. This is my mother. I lived 9 months inside of her. She fed me. She smells the same way that she smelled when I was inside of her. Like, there's so much biology like that sways into the favoritism of a mother. But just know that for fathers out there listening, and I don't know how many there are, I don't know my father base, but just know that you're doing a damn good job. There's nothing more you could be doing. Just being there when your child needs you guarantees that you will be the best father ever. Just staying around, being in the picture means that you will be the best father ever. And for those people out there, I know I have listeners out there who don't have a father. I'm sorry. Like, I don't really know what to say, but it's got to be rough, man. And I'm sorry that you have to do this life without one. And I'm sure he was a beautiful dude, and I'm sure he's an amazing person. And I'm sure he loved you as much as he possibly could. And I'm sure he would have traded his life for your life. But I know there's a lot of people out there. Whenever these Mother Days and Father Days come around, it's a cesspool of chaos. There's people who love it. There's people who have a father and they're great. There's people who have a father that they never met. There's people who have a father who hate. There's people who have fathers they hate and they're dead. There's people who have fathers, or there's people who don't have fathers that they hate and they're dead. That one scares the living shit out of me. There's those who don't have fathers that they love and then they're also dead. And we all get it. We all get to be better to each other because we don't know what anyone's going through. And so happy Father's Day to all those soon-to-be fathers and all those fathers who are fathers, and all those people who God is their father. Shout out to you people. What else is going on in this beautiful world? It looks like the world's finally opening back up, like 100%. Like, I'm seeing videos of New York City just max. I think was it Dave Chappelle was just on with the Goo Goo Dolls. I think it was the Goo Goo Dolls. Goo. No, let me just type in Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle. Yeah, there he is. Dave Chappelle. Watch Foo Fighters and Dave Chappelle cover Radiohead's Creep at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, that's what it was. Dave Chappelle belts Radiohead's Creep with Foo Fighters. That's hilarious. He's up there singing at a music venue. Like, who would have ever guessed that he would be a singer? I find that hilarious. Dave Chappelle's the greatest, though. He's the greatest of all time. He's the GOAT. There's nobody better than him. And, that's what happens, dude. What doesn't happen is Dogecoin. Dogecoin is, my portfolio is, I'll be very honest with everybody. My portfolio is currently up overall 1.73% from May 7th. It was up 40%. I'm up 1.73% right now. What do we call this? We call this having too much money in the crypto world. Crypto currently has his butt cheeks open over the toilet, taking a giant dump, and has been taking this dump for, I would say, probably 3 months now. And it is, it's brutal. It's hard. I'm still a big believer in it. I still see crypto as a future. I think crypto is one of those things that will take over the world. And when it does take over the world, it's going to happen in a way that's much more quieter than it has been. You know, it's been very weird to see crypto just kind of take off. It took off hard. And I think that was like the introduction. That was like chapter 1 of crypto. Maybe chapter 2, chapter 3 is crypto story. But I think it's gonna be one of those. It's gonna be something that when it does finally arrive, it's going to really take over the world. It's going to take over the world hard too. In addition to that, the economy has been seeing this crazy resurgence of spending. I listen to this podcast, Radiohead. No, Robinhood Snacks, and they're calling it. I don't know where they got it from, but those guys call it "quote unquote" revenge spending. You're seeing so much money getting poured into the market right now, and this money This money did not come in the traditional sense. This money wasn't traded for time. Time was not traded for this money. This money was traded by doing nothing. So there's a devaluing of the dollar right now. We don't know how much that is going to continue. We have no idea how much longer this inflation is going to continue to go up. But May, we hit 5.8% inflation. That inflation is the biggest shoot up we've had since 2008. Market housing, I think, shot up 20% in 1 month. Maybe it was April. I forget what it was. But in 1 month, it shot up 20%. If your house appreciates 1% every year and you bought a house at that time, you're looking at 20 years. You're looking at least 20 years, 20 to 50 years for that house to get back up to that purchasing price. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market right now. I know Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, came out and said we're not going to be boosting, or by the latest, or I don't know what he said, but the way he phrased it is basically 2023. They're going to increase interest rates. So that means we have a whole year and a half of no increasing interest rates. And obviously, when you increase interest rates, what happens is you have this money that is costs nothing to transfer, right? So if it costs nothing to transfer, there's a huge amount of transfers. This is the best time to get loans. This is the best time to grow your business because you're saving 1 to 5%, whatever interest is, which isn't like a lot, but like when you're talking like 1% of $100 million is $1 million. So you're saving $1 million, and when you have these huge companies doing billions of dollars of revenue and market caps of trillions of dollars, it adds up. And if interest is interest is increased, companies have to increase their prices. You see some companies like Chipotle already. Chipotle said they're going to increase their prices by 4%. They're going to increase the minimum wage to the $15 or $17 an hour. Inflation's up 5.8%. I don't know what it is with the food cost, but I'm sure they matched it. I mean, when I was talking to somebody, and this is fascinating for people out there, there's ways you ask for like wages to increase at your job. A lot of them is New Year's comes around, and that's a typical time to ask. But apparently, it's normal to ask your boss for a pay raise when inflation increases. So like right now, asking for a 5.8 pay raise pay raise is, you probably won't get that, but like asking for like a 4% pay raise, then to keep up with your daily expenditure, because the idea is that inflation has increased all the prices. The 5.8% is it's a very blanketed inflation rate. Obviously there's every market has their own inflation rate. You have livestock pig inflation, you have corn inflation, you have lumber inflation, you have all these different types of inflation. For 5.8% is like on average, that's the inflation rate. But I found that fascinating. If you want to ask for a pay raise, ask for a pay raise in terms of inflation, so you can get a workable living wage at this, working the same job that you want to. And because ideally your company, whatever you work for, if you're a service, if you're a subscription company, if you're a product company, everything is going to most likely get bumped up 5.8%, at least 5.8%, maybe more to keep up, so you can at least still have a decent margin, because your whole supply chain is going to increase. Like if you sell, if you're a company that sells teddy bears, well, that teddy bear it's gonna have to bump up. The price is gonna have to bump up because the buttons for the teddy bears, the cotton inside the teddy bear, the fur on the outside, the manufacturing place, all these places, the supply chains are going to get more expensive. They're going to have to bump up 5.8%. You're going to have to bump up your prices probably 5.8 to 7%, so you can at least still be at the same profit margin. And, by doing that, you're also going to have to increase the wage that you pay your employees, because your employees are going to leave because other places are going to be paying more. And this is like the thing is with like the economy, that economics that I find so fascinating. It's a game, right? It's a game. Like to me, the stock market, obviously the stock market is not a representation of the economy, and you saw that massively in like 2020. If you just like paid attention to the economy, you just spoke to the average American, you would have never thought the stock market was where it was. You would have never thought it was one of the best years on record. You would have never thought that billionaires were becoming, Jeff Bezos made billion, like Elon Musk made $50 billion, or Mark Zuckerberg made $50 billion, or Bill Gates is calling shots about vaccines and all this, you wouldn't, no pun intended, but you would have never expected that we would have this dramatic increase of wealth in this country. But we have, because the way that money is made in this country is ownership, and ownership's the best way to make money. It's really fascinating. The older I get, the more I realize the way that you actually make money in this country is the quicker you can the quicker you can separate so the quicker you can have trading time for money and trading money for money. If you can overtake the money, the trading money for money over the time for money, you're going to do better, because there's no exponential growth with trading time for money, because time doesn't grow exponentially. Time is always 24 hours. You may be able to put in 80 hours one week and 90 hours the next week, maybe even 100 hours. Increase 20%. You may be able to get an extra 25% hours of work in. You're going to get a bump in pay, but the time's not going to stack. It's not going to grow exponentially. But when you trade money for money, the returns are exponential. You put $10 in, you get 10% return. Now you have $10.01, and then $10.10 equals 10% on that, and you can see the growth on it. Taking your time, trading it for income, taking 50% of the income, so taking 40 hours of your life and putting it into a asset, a exponentially growing asset, an asset that appreciates. Obviously, you don't want to put it into an asset that depreciates. That's dumb. But sometimes assets that depreciate, if you can get through that depreciation, you will enjoy that appreciation. Again, if you can enjoy depreciation, the appreciation with an A will pay off for you. But if you could take those 40 hours and you can just throw it into an asset, whether it be a real estate property, whether it be real estate exchanges, stocks, or whether it be just the S&P, your money is going to build on, your money is going to grow by making more money. And I think that this is a time right now. I'm young, and I feel like every other episode I talk about this, but between every single episode, I still run into people that are my age who don't have their money anywhere. They just have their money in a savings. They just have their money in checkings, and that's all they have. And that needs to stop. I don't know. Don't take any advice from me. I'm not a financial advisor, but if you want to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, you need to stop getting your fruits just from your labor. You need to get your fruits from the money that's made on the money that comes from your labor, because that's how the rich get richer. And here's one thing that drives me crazy: when people go after these billionaires and that they're tax evading, that they're not paying their taxes. They're not paying their taxes because the people who make these bills for the tax, they're following the rules. They're not breaking the laws. But do you not think that these people who are making these tax codes are putting in these loopholes because they themselves are avoiding taxes? Like, I don't understand. Taxes are not made for the rich to pay. And this is something that is so obvious, to me. Like, this is something that has been around forever. The Roman Empire, the people who pay taxes are not the rich. Not the rich. Taxes pay the rich, and that's always been a thing. If you do a little bit of history, you realize very quickly that taxes are not designed to be an equal payout percentage by everybody in every class. No, they're not. Unfortunately, taxes are designed to make poor people, middle-class people, to pay the rich, and that's what it's always been, because the people who make these laws that have these tax codes in them are the rich. They're the people with the power. And guess what people with power don't want to do? They don't want to give up the money. So they're going to pay their taxes, but they're going to pay the taxes in the tax code that they developed. To me, it's commonsensical, but I want people to realize that. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. If you have a lot of money, it's so easy to keep your lot of money if you have it invested. If you don't have a lot of money, it's very hard to make a lot of money. It's very hard to make a lot of money because every time you make $100, you get taxed 20%. You lost 80%, And if that extra 20% could be invested. I mean, if you make 100K a year or 80K, 100K a year, and you can invest 20K a year, so you could take those taxes out and invest that into the S&P, you'll be a millionaire in 10 years. And this is the way it works. Like, they're not tax evading. They're just following the rules that have been put in place by the people who made the rules, because they themselves also don't follow the rules because they made the rules to curve around them. That it's like roadkill on a highway. Like, their rules go around the roadkill. They are the roadkill. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. Is store your money into assets. They won't get taxed until they become realized. And what that means is until they get sold. But then you can just borrow against everything that you have, and then you don't pay taxes on what you borrow. If you have $100K invested, you can borrow $100K. If you have $500,000, if you paid $500,000 for your $1 million property, you can borrow against that $500K, and then you can get a new property. Like, there's so many ways to work around the system. But just know that the system was never designed for the poor, for the middle class. The system is designed for the wealthy to stay wealthy, because power corrupts absolutely. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's unfortunately going to be the way that it always works. I wish I could tell you otherwise. I wish I could tell you that's not how it worked. And I wish I could tell you that the world is, the world is this, the world is equal, that the world is, the rich give to the poor, but that has never been a thing. And it's never going to be a thing. You need to make yours. You need to protect what's yours. And the quicker you realize that, people are not going to be helping you in that regard, I think the quicker you can claim independence financially. And I know for me, that's my goal, is to claim financial independence, to be able to make decisions that I want to make, because financial independence is freedom. It gives you the freedom to do what you want when you want. Oh, I want to go to Bora Bora this week. I'm going to go to Bora Bora. And while I'm there, I'm still going to be making money because I have it invested. And I think I don't know. I think we're taught this lie, and this lie is to find what you love, do it, and as you do it for a long time. Because if you do it for a long time and you love it, well, then you're not really you're never really working a day in your life. Or you can actually work hard for 15, 20 years, take money, make your money work for you, and then actually you don't have to work a day in your life. And then you can actually do what you want to do. But the thing is that these people who say these grandiose things, these beautiful things, they are the ones who are writing the paychecks. They're the ones paying you. I think the quicker you realize that, and the quicker you take control of your money and your finances and your freedom, the quicker you will find true happiness. And I sound like such a capitalist monger, but everybody who hates capitalism, and this is just my opinion, but everyone who hates capitalism, everybody who hates the rich, I guarantee if they came across $1 million one day, they wouldn't give it away. And I guarantee they probably wouldn't be singing the same song. And I understand. I'm not rich. I'm not rich at all. I might have I have a little bit of money, but I'm not rich. But I see the game that's being played. I can see the game that's being played. If you make a lot of money, they don't want you to put in assets, because if you put it in assets, they lose out on taxes. If you just put it in the regular system, if you pay sales tax, if you buy things, if you're keeping your savings account, if you don't divert it, they can tax the living hell out of you. They can increase the tax 1%, 2%, 3%. Next thing you know, your $60,000 salary, you're only taking home $50,000. You're spending $45,000, and now you're dealing with $50,000 to go on a trip to Florida. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not hating on that, but just know that there's a system in place, and you got to analyze the system, and you got to beat the game, because the game will beat you. Because the game is so good. It's been around since the Roman Empire. It is so solidified, and if you're not in the game, if you don't know the game is being played, you're just going to get played hard. At least recognize that there's a game. Maybe. But also, I don't know. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I don't think I am on this regard. I think I'm pretty spot on with this one. But what else do I have to talk about? I got a few more seconds to go. Stock futures rise. Thank the Lord, dude. Thank God. Not really. Jesus Christ. I'm losing so much money. I've lost thousands of dollars. This past month, I've lost thousands of dollars. Oh man. I go in that spiel, but it's not easy, dude. It's not easy. I'm over here like gripping the table, like, what is happening? Can we stop this? Can we go back? Let's go positive again. I don't like this. This isn't fun. I didn't sign up for this. I signed up just to make money. I'm just kidding. It's all about that long term. It's not about the short term. Florida man allegedly pulls a gun on Starbucks employee over botched order. Starbucks customer threatened cops kid over cream cheese. People tripping. Police Chief Delma Noah Pratt told local police media that her 23-year-old daughter was berated with verbal and physical threats. When a Florida man allegedly pulled a gun on a Starbucks drive-thru, irate over a botched order, he unwillingly brandished the firearm at the local police chief's daughter. First of all, why is it? I guess maybe, I don't know. People get wild at Starbucks, maybe. You can't kick people out for anything anymore. Who was working the counter, according to Miami Gardens authorities. Chief Noel Pratt told local media that her 23-year-old daughter was berated with verbal and physical threats before she handed the driver his cream cheese and he drove off. She felt in fear of her life. It was upsetting to me to know that someone would go to that extreme not having cream cheese on his bagel. Yeah, people do that. People are crazy. I'm never shocked by people anymore. I assume that people are insane. I assume people are, I mean, we're the weirdest chimps in the whole world. We are a strange group of animals. She told local 10 News the incidents hit close to home, occurring just hours before she delivered remarks at a previously scheduled rally against gun violence. Forget about the badge. Forget about the title. That's my child. She told the Miami-based station. And I thought about, am I going to see her again? Is she okay? Of course she was upset. She was crying. And so I had to go into mom mode. Police arrested Omar Wright, 38, on Thursday in connection with the incident on charges that include aggravated assault and armed robbery. He was on a $10,000 bond. He allegedly returned to the drive-thru and screamed at the chief's daughter, claiming his cream cheese was missing. When she asked whether he paid for it, police said he pulled out the gun. During his first court appearance Friday, he said he did not believe the robbery charge was warranted, although it remains unclear whether or not he had paid for the creamy spread. That dude's a piece of shit. That's just the truth. He's a piece of shit. And hopefully he goes to jail for a long time. He did not point the gun at her. She still feared for her life. Yeah, dude, when you pull out a gun, you can point at the sky. You have a gun. It doesn't take a lot to go, pew, pew, dead. He claimed that he grabbed it because it was falling out of his pocket and denied threatening a clerk. Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Whatever. Shaquille O'Neal got a new yacht. Let's see what this thing looks like. Shaq, new yacht. I love it, dude. I love it. You get your money, dude. It recently popped up on the market again and now priced at more reasonable $19.5 million. Along with a new price point comes a new strategy to entice a buyer off the sidelines. Nice, dude. I love it. Get your money, man. I don't care what you do. I love it. Dude, he still has a six-pack. What the hell? How the hell does he have a six-pack? Okay. Anyway, guys, I've gone on too much. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll catch you guys in episode 203 of the Michael Lapp Show. Peace out. See you. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Peace.